Peace. Good evening. Good evening. Um, I'm impressed to come to you to share something. It's time sensitive. Here it is on the 22nd of January, 2025 on the Gregorian calendar. And uh, I've been MIA from posting because I wanted to have everything just perfect to share with you what's been happening. But I feel a need to check in. I know there are those who are praying for myself, for my mom, for all of Yasharala. And I've been praying for you all. And so if I had to subtitle tonight, I would subtitle it as Leaders Are Readers. Leaders Are Readers. And let's go from there. So I'm coming to you as Kei'yah, my At Angel, and that is part of my tribal name, or I would say my spiritual name. And part of how I'm coming to you is I know who I am, right? And I hope that I'm speaking to people who know who they are. And it's important to do what we're supposed to do when we're supposed to do it. And at the same time, I'm sharing with you that there's some things that I want to do, I'm supposed to do, but I've been getting blocked from doing it in that way. Now, part of that is my journey for redeeming my estate and defending my estate, not just like me, my I, but our estate. And so I'm original indigenous to this land known as United States of North America. Some say part of the Roman Empire, part of the Moroccan Empire, and it is the heart, I would say, of the global empire because there is such thing as globalism. And this really became evident, I would say, 2008 or 9, when all the healthcare codes, everyone had to switch to using international healthcare codes, right? It's a global system. And so people talk about one world government and that sort of thing. It's already been a one world government for quite a long time. All right. And the way things now are, now everything happens in cycles and shifts, right? Cycles, I would say. And what's happening now is that the system as we know it now is really not sustainable. You have the quote unquote corporate judiciary taking people out of their homes illegally, unlawfully. We have sheriffs that need support because they need to learn how to read and be able to have the support to stand up for the law of whatever state they're in. So they're nine non-judicial foreclosure states. So if you have sheriffs that don't know how to read a false judgment or a judgment that does not apply to someone who is acting in law, then they need to have support doing that. And I have ideas and ways, right? And I'm being compelled to do things in a way that I'm not so sure about, right? But the thing about it is, this is a time when we need to have conversations and come together and not just do things because someone else thinks we should do them. That's why society, one of the factors or drivers, society being the way it is someone told you to do something and you just did it. And some people, they do things, they're fully convinced in their mind that it's right. But I want to talk tonight about leaders being readers. All right. So I know that there's some people who are operating in the private and they put forth Noble Drew Ali, the trust, the Vast Estate Trust. So I decided to read the Vast Estate Trust. Now, it's kind of sad that I'm just now reading the Vast Estate Trust, as many people talk about Noble Drew Ali, Noble Drew Ali, Noble Drew Ali, and not to really know what Noble Drew Ali did. What he did. He did a wonderful deed in the fact of his intentions were very pure. We know that he was, I would say, eliminated not too long after. So I will start out with just saying warm wishes and love to everyone, the 22nd of January. That is important. These are these cusps days when the shift in the energy, right? Many of you all, depending on what religious way or sect you came up with, you're not aware of all the other religious sects and how they all take from our natural indigenous ways, which is looking at the sun, looking at the moon and the stars and the relationship between them, and getting our information from them and moving in the spirit in that. But we're sometimes distracted by secular holidays, and I do mean religious secular holidays, something other than what your mama gave you. All right. So I tend to cling toward that, to the natural, toward how the Most High, the Spirit, the Great Spirit, Father God, Mother Nature. And when I say Father God, I mean good in the sense of nature, not so much man-made ideas about what nature is. So I'm going to start out with what I heard. I think it was the 17th of January when Russell J. Gould made an announcement. And so when you have an unrebutted affidavit or truth, it stands as truth in commerce. So in my indigenous ways, no, I don't have anything written down, but my word must be heard. And those choose not to hear it, so be it. It's not as if it's not said. But Russell J. Gould made an announcement that his quantum banking system is in effect, and everything is good, everything is fine. All you who have birth certificates are slaves, and all you have made your claim of life in the language that he and David Wynn Miller created. You've done a claim of life with him, and you're safe, and everything is good, and the rest of you slaves are not in a good way. Well, I just want to share something, because he also made a statement that I like, actually, some of what he said. He said that you're not going to be forced to take the V, if you know what the V is. You're not going to be forced to do other things, because I guess you're part of his government now. What he said that was disturbing is that, and it was disturbing to me because a lot of people don't understand government. It was disturbing that he would say that, Donald Trump is not the president because Russell J. Gould has taken over these things because of the Title IV flag and that sort of thing. Now, here's one thing I would say. I never got a piece of mail. I never got anything in my mailbox from Russell J. Gould. I never got any kind of instructions to say that legal title is no longer with the in fact, when I say in fact, state of wherever you have a birth certificate, right? Like, I never got anything to say beneficial ownership is not acknowledged anymore for your estate, and legal title is now with me, and then I say you're nothing because you still hold on to that piece of paper that you did not give me any clear direction on how to settle, how to redeem. You did not come protect me from having computer problems. You didn't come do anything that someone who is running a government is responsible to do, to look out for the people. So I like the idea that he recognizes that many of us are in oppressive situations and he wants to do something about it. And that is righteous and that is beautiful. And why I say leaders are readers is because leaders must go a little deeper. We must dig a little deeper. These times, I imagine, for some are exciting times because when there is destruction, this is a wonderful opportunity for people to make funds and make money. It is. But for some, it's a time they have enough sense to be fearful. They have enough sense to be fearful of nature. So for some, it's a time they're in fear. Now, there's a healthy amount of fear that should be in your heart if you know what's going on right now. Okay. And so, with all that being said, I just want to speak to having knowledge and wisdom be your undergirding your steps and your information. You don't want to make decisions because you're trying to make Bible prophecy come true. There's some people right now doing that. And so when it comes to Russell J. Gould, I am curious to know because I don't know him. I can't make a prejudgment about what he said. And people who are highly intelligent can be very deep. So because I don't know him, I don't know, is he using reverse psychology, trying to wake up people? Or is he serious? I don't know which because I cannot ask him. A part of me thinks he's serious. So if you are a reader, well, if you are a leader, then you are a reader, and you have to know about the history of this continent and the context of what's going on with the US. So first of all, I just want to correct a concept that there is just two like US, like it's just the US, and then there's the US corporation company, and then there's the United States of America. Okay, that concept is 100% incorrect. And I'm going to demonstrate to you why I think it's incorrect. Well, let's start at the beginning of the story. At the beginning of the story, before there was United States Corporation, right? There was United States of North America. We're going back to the treaties that were a series of treaties that are in evidenced by the Treaty of Marrakesh. Now, while we're speaking on this, I'll just have to say I made an announcement several months ago that it was a follow-up to something that I did handwritten. And I didn't know what I was fully doing. I was believing a narrative that wasn't true. So under the Moorish flag, I hand-delivered something, and I know it was received, that said, okay, the Treaty of Morocco, peace and friendship. That's not even the name of the treaty. I thought it was the name of the treaty. So I was given this narrative that, okay, the US is so corrupt and the Moroccan Empire is, still here. It's you, it's the people. It was overtaken. And so, we need to bring the empire back, right? Oh, US so terrible, right? But that's not accurate. That's not really how it was. So then a year later, I made a verbal statement saying that hey, this year is up. Now, when I wrote that, I thought, okay, I'm gonna write that and I'm gonna write this person and that person high up, and they're gonna respond to me, and but what happened was I was ignored, which I'm not used to because I've been in professional situations, and when two professionals are communicating, that's what they do. But instead, it was like a chess game. I'm not used to playing chess games as a strategist, as a change maker. All right. That's as a builder. See, you have to be intelligent to play chess. However, you cannot build anything playing chess. Okay. So imagine you want to build a building, right? You want to build a building, and the architect needs a little bit of information about the materials that are going to be used, about the budget, and the architect tries to reach whoever he needs to get this information from, and they're saying, well, you didn't ask properly. You didn't say, you didn't, I got your email, but you emailed the email after 5 o'clock. Well, it doesn't matter what time the email is there. Like when you opened your email, you saw the email. See, or playing these type of games or whatever have you. Chess is not a game for people who are trying to build something. I'm sure there are many virtues to chess, but chess is not a game that you even need to know to be really good at a lot of things that actually matter in life. Okay. Imagine if someone had to be a chess player, a good chess player, in order to be an excellent surgeon or these type of things. It has its place in its context. But the type of relationship that was established was like, we're going to go by the rules of chess, which is dysfunctional. And it's not what is going to help us in this time of Aquarius. I don't disrespect chess players. I'm just trying to say that that is not an appropriate game for the time we're in. Okay, it's not I make a move, then you make a move. I make a move, and you make a move. People who are builders, they don't think like that. And so if you always win a game of chess with a creative, with a builder who doesn't see lines, they don't see lines. They see black and white and colors, right? I mean, gray, right? And I mean, it's scientifically proven that certain people think in black and white, whereas creatives don't. And many of the people indigenous to the land don't. They see something and they might see like 100 uses for one thing. And someone else will see, well, that's meant for only just a specific thing. Like, who said that? You think black and white, so that's all you see. You don't see the creative and the opportunity in a situation. You're not necessarily going to be a process person as much. Maybe strategic and definitely intelligent, but not builder. Okay. So with that said, the United States Corporation Company, right? Then we have the United States of America Incorporated. Now, then you have United States of America Trust, where we're not putting $ in gold. And that trust, that would be the name of a trust, you could say. The name of a trust. But part of the quote unquote trust property, it would be the people. It would be the land. Okay. But we're not talking dollars. Value, but not monetary dollars. It's value. And why it's important to recognize that is because Russell J. Gould, he mentioned the United States Corporation, and then he mentioned United States of America, as if there is no United States of America, Inc. There is. How do I know? Because if you go and you look at the General Services Administration form, that's what it says. It says United States of America, Inc. All right. Now, when it comes to an incorporation, that's what these bonds and the insurance and things like that is built on. So you cannot call me because I have not redeemed the birth certificate, right? And most people haven't, because redeeming the estate, you're going from the public to the private. First of all, it's a lot to learn. Second of all, it's a process. Third of all, there are people who don't want you to be free because they want, I'm not going to say what they want, but they don't want you to be free. And some people, I think they don't really even know how. They say they do, but they really don't. Because I've listened to some folks criticize others, about not following their plan to the T or whatever have you like that. It's like you feel good being in a place of power and position. The other people want to know what you know, that you're not, some people are not taking the time to really make sure that, hey, you're leading somebody out from the public and into the private. You are responsible for making sure that they get there safely. If you can't help them get to the private safely, how dare you even mention that it's something that they should do different? It's a lot of teachers like that. There's some that aren't like that, but many of them are. So that's part of the reason why I haven't been here, because I'm not trying to take somebody down a path that I cannot competently guide them down, as evidenced by I've been down the path before. So part of this, what I'm experiencing is there's some folks who read the law, right? Then I'll go behind them, I'll read it in depth for myself. I find out, how does this apply to the state where I am, to the county officials. And a lot of folks worried about who the president is. They need to be focused in on who's the president of their county. Who's the president? Does that president have the support that they need? That would be the sheriff. Does the sheriff know and read the law? Maybe, maybe not. But that is a good place to start. And knowing your Constitution before 1933, that Constitution, and just knowing who you are when you read the Constitution of the United States of America, United States for America. Who are you in that Constitution? Or are you trying to fulfill some religious book that was created by man that left out many of the scriptures for our people? All right. And just to say what kind of comes up for me is I was raised worshiping on the seventh day of the Gregorian Julian calendar, right? So as you really study and read the book, the whole book, many people, what they do is they take the Sabbath school lesson or they take the Sunday school lesson and they read what was given to them for that lesson for that week. They don't read, and then they read and listen to the perspective of who gave you the lesson. They don't read the whole scripture. So we have the 66 book King James Bible, and many people haven't read the whole book. Okay, as evidence that if you, let's say you're keeping a 7th-day Sabbath, right? Why is it that you keep the 7th-day Sabbath, but you don't keep the new moon as a Sabbath? Because that is what is in the Bible. It's in the Bible, the King James Version, to keep the new moon. It says, never forget the new month, and never forget the 7th-day Sabbath. And I know that there are congregations where they worship on Sunday, but they still also have a 3-day celebration for the new moon, because it says so in that Bible that you say is the word of God. So when it comes to compliance and policy and things like that, this time is a time of awakening. That's what that means, the awakening. Okay, because there's going to be a time when the people who are indigenous to this land are waking up. And I think that time is right now. I think it's right now. And so, and why it's important that we wake up is because if we don't wake up, there are other people who are willing to do things just as bad as what happened in California for the insurance money. Okay? Hello? And if you're waiting for something to happen that's not going to happen, then you allow yourself to be in a position of danger. Okay? We don't want to be in danger. And I say this in love. Okay? So it's a name. The U.S. is the name, the United States, or unum sanctum. The United States is the name of a corporation. The United States of America, Inc. is the name of an incorporated entity. What does it mean that United States of America Inc. is incorporated versus an unincorporated territory or unincorporated country or whatever have you. Now, mind you, the United States, each state is a nation state, and they're united nations. And if you look on the Secretary of State website, you will see that each one is a nation state. So if you were born, let's say, in Maryland, your nationality, statutory nationality, would be Marylander. That's really how it is. Like, and so there's some people who think that the federal government doesn't have a value. We're just going to be state nationals. Well, then, if you're going to be state nationals, then like, what is your society going to be based on? Like, you don't have any agent. You have contracts. You have interagency contracts between all the states because you're united under guidelines from the federal government. It's like it's a cycle. It's a circle. It's a circle, like a loop, like currency. Yeah. So it's not. If you have two states next to each other and then you have no federal agreements or interagency agreements, imagine that you don't have like a federal government to regulate the commerce. And then, so who's then going to have everybody think that each state is going to have a separate agreement with China? Or is it the federal government supposed to have a state agreement that protects the whole continent and the territories? That's how it is designed. Now, the reason I bring this up is because if you are a leader, you don't get to neglect your responsibility to communicate with, to engage the quote unquote slaves, and then say that you have a monetary system that's going to, I guess, cover whatever the commerce or trade is. And they're two different things. Commerce is public, trade is more private. Your quantum system that is built on the energy of the people, it starts from the people. The land and the people are connected. So now if you have a quantum system, that's fine, but you don't have the right to tell other people not to depend on Donald Trump for the, in fact, government of the U.S. to do his job. Part of his job is to make sure that there is order for the public services. If I decide I want to have a new roadway, what I'm supposed to do is like get all the people together to gather money together to update the road? Or are you supposed to have a system where the federal government communicates with the states, brings everyone together in coordination to make sure that the people's energy is turned into a monetary system, that things can get done and be orderly? That's the way it is supposed to happen. So if he has a monetary system, he's free to start his own monetary system. But to tell people who don't know civics, who don't know how to claim their estates, that he's not a real president or what have you, that's irresponsible. And how about all the people who are unlawfully incarcerated for victimless crimes? You don't care about them? I mean, you're indigenous to this land, right? Or are you? So I respect the fact that you want a more peaceful world. And that's why I say, I don't know you. Maybe this is reverse psychology. And I'm saying thank you, because it's definitely motivated me to come talk on this 22 of January, like right now. So as a leader, then you are responsible to know the history. Okay. And I say this in love. I say it in love. I'm just saying it with some concern, because I'm sure you're not, this is for Russell J. Gould. I'm sure you're not very sensitive. You can't be a sensitive person. You want to go out and call people you haven't even communicated with properly slaves. So you can't really be sensitive. And you've been through a lot. You stood up for a lot. So I know that this is not gonna like break you to hear a little bit of truth. Okay. So let's let's look at a little bit of history here. We're gonna go back to 1928 because what leaders are readers, and we want to find out what did Noble Drew Ali do for the original indigenous people in North America. He was from what, the North Carolina area. All right, a lot of people Ani Wanye, or better known as Cherokee, which they say is really a mix. But what he did, he knew his bloodline heritage. So, with a lot of these agreements, international agreements, you have the right to change your nationality. And so that's a little clue as to what's going on too. Nationality said was the order of the day. Here's the thing. I can change my nationality, right? I might say I prefer to say Amerindian, right? Because that's not any kind of copyrighted term by the U.S. or United States of America, Inc. I could say I'm Chi, well, like, what is it? Aboriginals in North America. They're doing good things, right? I could say I'm Moorish American. I could say I'm Moroccan American. With all that, I get to choose my nationality. But guess what? I don't get to choose. I don't get to choose my true history. I don't get to choose my ancestors. Some people might say I chose my ancestors like before I came into this realm, but I'm saying I'm here in the flesh right now. I don't get to choose my bloodline. As my grandmother would say, blood is thicker than water. Water being commerce, being the sea. But guess what? It's thicker, my blood. So you might call me also a thing, a Black person, Black people, Cherokee Indian, American Indian, Amerindian, Moorish American, Moroccan, who it's not that it doesn't matter, but what I'm trying to say is what statutory nationality I choose is different than my lineage. It really is different. So I think it is worth discussing and coming to an agreement for those who have ancestral estates on this continent. It is worth coming to an agreement of what we can call ourselves as a whole, but understanding that there were 500 something tribes here with different, traditions and what have you. And so it's not for me to tell you what you should call yourself or for you to tell me what I should call myself. And then when it comes to estate law and trust law, it's definitely not for somebody to come in and say, I'm running this, because it was March 2023 that the Pope apologized. Well, he didn't apologize. He said, the Vatican put out a statement to repudiate the doctrine of discovery. Then the lands go back to the peoples, the original indigenous peoples. That's the way it's supposed to be, including the Alonges, the contracts and that sort of thing. The cancellation of the license is not appropriate. The foundation of what we have is built on that. So, the Federal Reserve needs indemnifying, needs fortifying. But it should be done properly. And then when the great teachers share what's supposed to happen and what the responsibility is of the in fact government, which is not the same thing as de jure government. It's not. Because a de jure government is not going to be dependent on the energy of the people as far as corporate entities. So back to that whole U.S. corporation and United States of America incorporation. All right. the juristic person is what they depend upon for the finances. In a de jure government, that's not going to be the case. You're not going to be dependent upon the energy of the people. You're not going to have people come into contracts that are based in usury. That's strictly unlawful in the Bible. And that's how our people suffer, is because the Jewish folks, they know biblical principles. The Islamic folks, Muslim folks, they know biblical principles. But the Christian that is really indigenous to the land, we don't know. We're walking in the 1724 Christian Black slave codes and paying tithes and taxes on your own energy, when the Bible actually does, it says you're supposed to pay tithes and taxes if the taker, Caesar, that's what the word means. If the taker is who you serve or who you fall under, then you pay the taker what you pay the taker. But if you serve the Most High Creator, you don't have to pay the taker that. Okay? So this is what the Bible says, but because you only read a certain amount of it, and you've been conditioned to think that it's sinful to question what you've been given, right? You're in a dangerous place. Now, back to Russell J. Gould, and I just want to say that this is a statement that is specifically designed to say, hey, it sounds like you might be doing a great thing. However, it's not okay to leave the people. First of all, Slav comes from the word Slavic, right? Now, if you were to say you still have a birth certificate, so you're in bondage, that's fine. I haven't seen a single link anywhere about your quantum banking. Where is there a link somewhere? Where is the link? You send something to a corporate fiction. You inform the corporate fiction about what you're going to do, which is still a corporate fiction. I'm coming from the du jour to say that all is a corporate fiction. And from what happened in California, it's not all okay. It's not all okay. Are you funding to fix that up over there, or coming up with ways to fix it up? Because you're very intelligent. So it seems like it would be an opportunity to reach out to other people like me, or to other people who have more insight about what's happening on the spiritual, to say, let's work together, because I don't like how things are going either. But to just step over the original indigenous people who the land does come back to, and act like we don't exist, that's not sustainable. Let's see here. Let me share with you slides and PDFs from my computer. I downloaded the Noble Drew Ali Trust, Vast Estate Trust, and I have some things to say about it. It's really interesting because when we read, we are then fortified with truth, not just like following someone along. And a lot of times the people who a lot of times are teaching, right? Like, how can I say this? Like, when you read what really happened, you recognize that they might be well intended, but they missed a lot. But it shouldn't be for them to have to get it right by themselves. Maybe that's what a little bit of, like coming out of Babylon is about, is us coming out of infancy and reading and sharing. So I can't find anything other than this. This is not the first piece, because this is Is this okay? Yeah, so it's a resolution, but it's a resolution to make an amendment to this document number right here. Now, I couldn't find anything that said what the original was. I'm only finding like the resolution to make an amendment. So that makes me think that there's something else before this. Okay, I can't find it. But this right here, it gives us a lot of insight. And I could see why they're angry at the brother. But that's another thing. It's another energy. Let me say this. I like that about Donald Trump, right? I like the fact that Donald Trump said that he's committed to not killing off people, to not murdering people. But I know that some of the people who look just like me and you, they're justifying why they offed this one or why they gonna off that one. That is so yesterday. You'll never receive blessings. I don't care what kind of you, all gold, all silver, whatever. My people use wampum beads, and it's not enough gold and silver to finance everything. Although we might want to go back to the gold and silver standard because it's not going to justify. It's hard to then justify. How can I say this? It won't. It'll remove the incentive for people to cheat the people. All people. I'm not talking about indigenous people versus the immigrants here or whatever. People who don't have ancestral estates here. A lot of people who are cheating the people who work hard every day. They don't have ancestral estates here, and they're criminal, and they know they're criminal. They're trying to clean up before they get kicked out. But here's the thing, all that is unlawful and illegal, and it must be returned. So let's hear, we have Exhibit 1. Now, one thing that I'll just say is I do recognize that at this time when Noble Drew Ali created the trust, it wasn't the focus on the gold and the silver. It's part of the land, but it wasn't a focus on that. So you won't mention that in there. And I do understand the importance of claiming the gold and the silver, which I claim. I actually have a judgment. I didn't know how to handle it fully. I have to find the judgment. And I would have sued for way more than what I did. It's in gold. And I understand that. Why? Because it's specifying a jurisdiction. But if you're coming up under a nation and a different trusteeship is considered a different state. So when people say that, like the Moorish Americans, it's not a real government, this is and that. Well, it's a different state. State and trusteeship are the same. Okay, so they have a different trust that some of them come under. But when I read it, I realized the opportunity to actually either apply the trust. Either you apply the trust, if you apply the trust the way it was written, then Moorish Americans, the original indigenous people here, however you want to be called, wouldn't be having the problems that we have. So there was definitely an infiltration. And even now, people who are putting the trust on the record using the all red lettering, right? Can we file the trust? If you want to promote the trust and make it seem like everyone else who doesn't follow the trust is incompetent, then you would first need to follow the trust. First, you need to follow the trust. So let's learn. So here it is. It's I Sheik Kenny Alvin Martin Ill, right? Does solemnly affirm. And they go down. I'll read it, but I'll just say what stands out for me and the opportunity to come into compliance with it. If you want to, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. That's not my point. My point is we cannot be judgmental of other people and you're not doing the thing you want other people to demonstrate, which is honoring Noble Drew Ali and what he did. So I, Sheik Kenny Alvin Martin Ill, do solemnly affirm that the following persons, Sheik Aziz Lisa Ill, Shabazz Ill, Sheik and Mu Yamin Al Midden, Bay, Sheikh Shaz, Uriel, Bay, Sheikh Terry, Stubblefield Bay, Sheikh Kenny, Alvin, Martin Eel were appointed officers with powers and duties similar with trustees of the Moorish Science Temple of America, a body politic, and an ecclesiastical government according to the usages or customs, rules, regulations, articles of association, constitution, bylaws, or canons, as the cause may be, by the Council, Moorish Science Temple of America, grand body, under the virtue of the sections 46A, 46B, 46C, 46D, 46E, 46F, 46G, 46H, and 46I, is that, of an act concerning corporations approved April 18, 1872, and the Moorish Science Temple of America adopted as a corporate name, Moorish Science Temple of America. Now, so their government is in the form of a corporation. I don't really think that that is a big issue or problem. This is what, 1928? He didn't have the internet right at his fingertips. Did they even really discuss, was there even the treatment 508 in the IRS manual at the time, right? Which is this unincorporated association. So I don't have a criticism that it's done in a corporate structure, okay? What I do notice is this big old push of, don't go to the, don't go get your things notarized, as if going to get something notarized is somehow putting you in a dead state. Notarization is important as it relates to safety, because there are many people who are unlawfully conveying properties. So you could say you're anybody and then put it on a record and then take it to the clerk. And if the clerk, if you don't take it to get it notarized, then the clerk is going to send it up to the to the attorney general to get it notarized, or to get approval to put it on the record without it being notarized. But does she do a good job to ID you? See, so when you go to notarize something, you want to first look up your notary handbook in the state where you're domicile. Look that up. Find out the different notary options. It could be you're just going to the notary for acknowledgement of the act that you're taking. Another thing that kind of stands out is this. If you've seen a notary book, there's a place on there for a thumbprint. So you doing something in front of a notary isn't taking an oath before a notary. Sometimes it's just having a record of who you are and what you did. And because the clerks, or I know the clerk near where I domicile, let all sorts of illegal things come right under her nose, and she does nothing about it. And then when you're trying to correct it, you can only have access to her through the corporate fictitious side. She doesn't record things that are coming in from the Republic, which it is her responsibility to do. It really is. But some of these clerks, they go to a law school and then they're not taught the law. They're taught processes by which to keep the slaves in good order, or those in bondage in a situation where their estates are being held in usufruct. So, I mean, it's quite a bit to take in. However, I disagree with this idea that to have something notarized is some kind of acknowledgement of the jurisdiction. Yes, they have a responsibility to keep order, and it is such where we are at the time. It is cleave or leave. Cleave to what is right. In our ancient systems, we did record. But let's be honest here too. There are people who are intentionally trying to break down society. Why? Maybe so others can then have a financial gain of rebuilding. That's not, I don't want to be used for that. Okay, so now Noble Drew Ali. Okay, we're at page 4. I didn't want to skip to 4. Page 2. So first of all, the document was notarized. The document was notarized. You're taking something you did in the private and you're preparing it to be acceptable for the public record in one place where everyone can go to it. That's order. That's what Noble Drew Ali was about. He was about order. He had the document notarized. Did that make him any less of a man? Does this make this any less binding in and of itself? I think not. Anyway, Exhibit 2. I tend to, when I look at things, I look at the right side as a credit side, the left side as the debit side. Anyway, I like how they had the margins justified. It makes your document look more neat. Okay. All right. Notice here, this is page 3 of 8. It says, whereas the 1099 affidavit. 1099 affidavit. Now, he must have been creating his own documents, which is something that I don't particularly like to do. I have done. But my point is the 1099 affidavit. Just keep that in mind. It's a good thing. All right. Filed by Drew Ali on August 1st, 1928 at 2:52 p.m. in the Cook County Recorder of the Deeds Office. Document number, boom. Had that right here. So I don't know if that's why I couldn't find it, what it is that they don't want us to see. Okay. Book 521, page, boom, delegation of authority order under which the Moorish Science Temple of America shall conduct its business. So I don't know why I can't find that. How come I can't find that? What did that say on there? But if it was done before and we are creative, I mean, who's to say that it doesn't need to be done again? And maybe that is what is happening with the Moorish American consulate in Washington State. But my concept is just a little bit different. It's not that it's supposed to be. Let me read some more about what Noble Drew Ali and his faithful companions did for us. Whereas the delegation of authority is an instrument whose resource is the sovereign authority in the nature of the grant under the whole nation or to a class or person's portion of that nation. See, so nowhere in this document do you see Noble Drew Ali or anyone saying something like, you're Moorish American, unless you call yourself a Moorish American, you're not my people. He didn't say that. He didn't say anything about whether you called yourself Indian, American Indian, Moorish American, Moroccan American, Tamarian, even a New Jerseyan, a Georgian, a Marylander, a New Yorker. He didn't say you must, well, let me read some more because then there is a part in here that specifies a Moorish American. So let me not. say everything this document says or didn't say. But this statement right here, see, a grant either to the whole nation or to a class or portion of that nation. Okay. So, whereas a delegation of authority is an instrument whose source is a sovereign authority in the nature of a grant either to a whole nation or to a class or portion of that nation. So, I take it to say that there's a little bit of flexibility as it relates to the nature of a nation. Okay, right here. Whereas we are a jural society, whereas we execute jural, summi, imperia, and jura regalia. Excuse me for 1 second. I did look this up too. Hold on. Okay. So, whereas should we look this up together? Look this up outside of me. I got this off of Scribd. It's much important if you're trying to get free. Okay. All right. So, whereas we invoke the jura sanguinis nolo, jura civi, drimi hasunt. Now, I do know sanguinis is right by blood. Okay. So, whereas the divine constitution and the bylaws, along with the articles of association, the articles of confederation, and the constitution for the United States of America shall be the building blocks for the body politic of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And so this trust right here is bringing their activities into the private. I'll read more to justify the statement that I just made. Okay. Whereas the books, the 101 Questions of the Moorish Children, the Circle 7, the Adept Chamber books, and the Moorish Science Temple of Divine Constitution, and the bylaws of the literary foundations for the ecclesiastical body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. All right. So when you're coming into something, right, this is for me, what stands out for me is that you want to half do something or you want to all the way do it. Like if you're going to follow this, follow this. Okay. It's respectable. Okay. Whereas the Supreme Council and the grand body of the legislate law regarding the Moorish Science Temple of America, these laws be communicated to foreign authorities to ensure that our operations are acknowledged, that our operations are accepted, that our operations are protected through the normal course of international law. So he was acknowledging a separation, from the main U.S. corporation. Now, here's the thing: he does give some pretty good remedies to the fact that there's no different use of a different like a EIN number. You don't hear anything in here about 98 numbers. I don't even know if they had 98 numbers then or what have you. But honestly, it's something to consider. It's something to consider as it relates to even this body. Okay. I know there are plenty of people who moving into the 98 numbers, and it is actually in line with the way to separate yourself. That's why some people say, oh, you're not party to the Constitution and all this other kind of thing. It's because you're allowing yourself to be treated as a corporate citizen, and you're not separating your trusteeship. All right. So that's no little thing, because if you look at, we'll continue reading, but if we read this document and if it was actually applied just like it was written, you wouldn't have all these Moorish Americans in and out of jail and unlawful stops. This is not being applied as it was written. That's part of the infiltration. And at the same time, it's no like figure it out on your own once you get in trouble. It was in here that you would help your brothers and your sisters. And financially, it was in here too. And part of it, let me just go back up here to the 1099 affidavit. That's a hint right there. You got a 1099 affidavit. That's someone who knows how to interact with the IRS. Come down, dog. You're going to hurt yourself. Oh, I love pit bulls. They're so misunderstood. They're so misunderstood. Hey. Okay. All right. So, yes, a pit bull with anxiety disorder. So, come down. Sorry. One second. Excuse me. Okay. Not my doggy. So when owner leaves, then doggy gets a little nervous. Okay. So, whereas the Supreme Council and the grand body legislate law, Regarding the Moorish Sign Temple of America, these laws will be communicated to the foreign authorities to ensure that the operations are acknowledged, accepted, and protected through the normal course of international law. Whereas the Supreme Council and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America convened and resolved that the following will be resolved as law for the Moorish Science Temple of America. So this was law for the ecclesiastical body, the Moorish Science Temple of America. Pretty much like, leave us alone, okay? Now, whereas all the recorded Moors shall have prerogative of jurisdiction, all recorded Moors, so they'll have prerogative jurisdiction in all matters, including nationality, including title, including status, including claim, right, interest, and in the nature of any matter, civil, criminal, commercial, or otherwise involving a Moor. Furthermore, the Department of Vital Statistics in each state which a recorded Moor was born shall transfer and convey as title the domicile of the original back to the Moorish Empire, of which their domination, authority, and inhibition protected from between 3 degrees northeast of the present Mogadishu, and I'll go down. It was about 2/3, no, maybe more. Let's go to the next page. He mentioned several areas, latitude and longitude, and declared that part of the Moorish Empire, and also in coordination with the Moorish Science Temple of America. Okay, so as I recognize, then when you're stating a certain jurisdiction, you're also taking responsibility for it. So I think this had an impact on the economy at the time, but it's also important to have goals that you can specify, that are measurable, that are achievable. I could see why he was threatened. He was a threat to others, and that's no justification for the man being offed. None at all. None at all. Anyway, the recorded Moor, but these Latin words here basically are letting you know it's not just people who call themselves Moors. It was all indigenous people that were being thought of in this. But his concept of it, which I don't find in literature, but his concept was that, the melanated people were Moors. Now, it might have been the case that all melanated people were called Moors by some people, but I know a whole lot of people who don't want to be called Moors, who are indigenous to this land. And so when it comes to cultural competence, if we're ever going to come together, we might want to think about that, because there was before Muslim or before some of the other religious sects. Not to say that Moor always means Muslim or Islam. It doesn't. But there is a strong connection between that terminology for the melanated people and Islam. It just is. And then you'll see on certain books that Caramel shares that the Moors were accused of attacking the the dark-skinned copper-toned Indians. Okay, so that some of the Moors came as pilgrims. Okay, so we might get along as a people and everything, but that doesn't mean everybody's lineage is the same. And I'm not trying to suggest someone doesn't have a heritage here because they call them one selves or another, but We want to come together. So here it lists the 9 councils, the Council of Vital Statistics and all that kind of thing. It looks like here that he wanted to separate out from the mainstream, which I get it, right? My concept is a little bit different. My concept is more like all the allonges go back to the original peoples, right? So when you look at the United States Corporation, United States of America Incorporated as well, like I said, those GSA bonds, the bonds that we are under that are attached to the certificate of live birth and to the social security number. This is the foundation of the economy, right? And if it goes back to us, it's really not for the Pope or anyone else to be pulling out the private papers. Because are they your private papers, or are they our private papers and securities that must be returned to the people? And if it is the time that no one will have an ear to slow down the train, come out of fear, go into knowledge, and plan and think, and ease in another currency while fully living off of our own estates, which that debt is our credit to claim. Those are our securities to claim. But there's so many actions, so many unconstitutional, so many genocidal actions, such as the 702 FISA court warrants that are not properly executed in paper, in hand, right? That it's difficult to effect change when you're just trying to survive. And they're not actually any published lawsuits that have been successful. Although in California, there may be an attorney that will help with like the V2K, voice to skull harassment. It's called electronic harassment. All right. So to say that people are not awake or not doing what they're supposed to do when the people are being oppressed by technology, they're being held hostage in their own body. This is a problem. And so when someone comes and says, well, no, you're a slave because you didn't participate in my economy and you didn't speak my language. However, you ignore law. It's a fragile situation. And like I said, is it reverse psychology or is it FD12 time? I don't know which. I don't know. So I just hope that we'll all come humbly with the way to resolve things, because it's not creative. This is Aquarius. Everyone sees what's going on. FD12. You know what FD12 is? It's when someone says something or does something where we're now concerned that you might be a threat to yourself or you might be a threat to others. We don't know. So now we need to have an evaluation, because we cannot have people walking around society that are an imminent threat. As in one of the law enforcement, no. I think it was a governor or someone high up over there at the state of California making comments when we started the fire. That's one too many management classes on how to make money, right? Starting a fire would be, what is the word for starting a fire? Arson? You said we started the fire. Did you have a Freudian slip, or did you start the fire that several people died in? That at minimum warrants a mental health evaluation to know if you are fit to protect the estates of the people. Whereas the document 10105, 905, Also, as the vast estate of Drew Ali will serve as an instrument by which the Morrison Temple of America will issue credit and discharge debt. Issue credit and discharge debt for the recorded Moors throughout the vast estate trust, namely the lands of North America, South America, Central America, and outlying islands. So he had a very lofty goal, and there's nothing wrong with having lofty goals. The matter is that people here, they say we follow Drew Ali, we follow Drew Ali. The same people want to charge you a whole bunch of fiat to get a little bit of help. Right here, it says in the instrument, the Moorish Sign Symbol of America will issue credits and discharge debt. So if you don't know how to do that, or you don't have an account, or you or like don't want to communicate with the US Treasury, that's not in line with what Noble Drew Ali demonstrated. At the beginning of it, it says he first filed a 1099 affidavit. Even if you don't want to use their forms, file an affidavit and stop bringing people asking for their fiat and not demonstrating what Noble Drew Ali demonstrated. And further, I won't skip down too far. I'll read it, because when I saw this, I'm like, this brother knew what he was doing. So, whereas all recorded Moors shall have the right to freely travel, unobstructed, unmolested, and unfettered in their various modes of transportation throughout North, South, and Central America. So, I bet the people who have problems with traveling, I'm wondering, did you put this trust on the record at whatever state in which you've been doing business? Okay, that's important. You wouldn't have the problems that you have if even this trust is inadequate. First, let's finish the document all the way, because he tells you how to bring this trust alive. Anyway, if it's something that resonates with you, and if it's not something that resonates with you, it's something we can still learn from. Whereas all recorded Moors shall have an unobstructed, unmolested, unfettered right to bear arms through the North. Okay, South. Right, you have the right based on this trust, but so many people don't put the trust on the record. Maybe they make up their own trust, but it's not the same as what this is saying in here. Further, he puts a cost schedule in here. Whereas all recorded Moors are now in prison in the penal holding facility shall have the right to request the aid of a consulate officer of the Moorish Science Temple of America to secure their release from the facilities. Does this say that a Moor shall study and show themselves approved and spend 3 or 4 months away from their family or their village or their clan or tribe, however you prefer to say? I prefer not to use the word family, their kin. Does this say you shall show yourself approved? No, it doesn't say that. In fact, you have some people who would teach the GSA bonds or even private bonds. I'm not sure if the private bonds work, but some people have said the GSA bonds work. All right. You can't walk around and do things in the public and not be held responsible. This helps bring things into the private. This is one way to do that. Whereas if any more is forced into a judicial proceeding regarding any statutory violation, and the liability charge placed upon the charging offender or offenders shall be the amount of $1,800 per minute. per minute, which shall be awarded to the defendant based on the amount of time the defendant was detained. This would be a deterrent, right? But I didn't realize that this was even written in here, but it does. I had upped a cost schedule that I created from 9,000 an hour to 9,000 a minute. That's a lot. Why would I do that? That's a lot. Well, and then I read this document. This brother's talking about some 1,800 per minute. So it really isn't a lot. All right. Here's the thing. It's not the goal to have problems and then come back and sue somebody. That's not the goal. The goal is to have a peaceful life, is to communicate the jurisdiction, to carry yourself in a way where nobody really has a reason to stop you anyway. But since they are just trained to make money and not know the law, they'll find things to stop you for and then want to see your ID. Then knowing, though, that even the Moorish American ID, you have to have another ID to go with that ID. You don't just wake up, don't want to use a birth certificate, don't want to use anything, and then have a Moorish American ID and think that that's going to be enough. Unless you've planned ahead, or unless let's say you bought a plane ticket, right? I bet you bought that plane ticket. I bet you they can still find out who you are other than that main one number. You see, you didn't buy the plane ticket on the AA222141, did you? No, you bought it from probably an account. You didn't buy it from a gift card. They know who you are. And I want them to know who people are, for the point that there are people who are jealous of the original indigenous people, and they want what was given to us by the Most High. And that's why it's important that the policy to interview people who are coming into this jurisdiction, you have the right to travel anywhere you want, right? But if you're coming over here and then you're asking for benefits that are part of our birthright, that's where the problem comes in. Okay, come over here and don't ask for anything, it wouldn't be no problem. But you're coming over here and asking for something and abandoning your birthright in another land. So, also the charging offender, or on the time spent defending the liable. Okay, so basically, look, $5,000 per hour. So based on the trust, $1,800 per minute for the escheat. And then the consulate officer would then receive $5,000 per hour. And that's way more than the few $100s for a consultation or what have you, and may or may not really have your need met. $5,000 per hour. But that does require a certain skill set where the consulate officer would be able to bill, will be able to look what Drew Ali did here. These fees shall be paid on the day of the hearing or trial. Moreover, all bonds and derivatives shall be surrendered to the jurisconsult. So let's just say for some reason they didn't surrender at the trial. Don't you think he might have known how to go back in and collect those bonds? This is back in 1928. So it's that principle that stands out for me. When someone needs help, if you're in a position, you have the skill and the know-how, why wouldn't you help them? This is not in line with what Noble Drew Ali said when you say something like, well, they got themselves in, get themselves out. Meanwhile, the de facto court system is generating funds on your brother or sister being in a situation they don't know how to get out of. And even if you don't put this trust on the record, it's important to understand the principles of it. And then reading this and seeing how detailed it is, it does make one wonder, are some of the people who are teaching what Noble Drew Ali taught, are they in a situation where they just can't help you? They just can't say, hey, let's go line by line and learn. So it's important not to just come following behind people who say something but don't demonstrate. Leaders are readers. So if you want to be a leader in your own life, it's important to read. Whereas the United States corporations and instrumentalities are excluded from the ecclesiastical body of the Moorish Science Temple of America and its official operations. So all United States corporations and instrumentalities are excluded. So I do think that it's just a little bit of a concept that I don't agree with, is that the Moorish Science Temple of America can actually be separate from the United States Corporation. Why? Because the United States Corporation depends on the trusteeship of the original indigenous people, here referred to as Moors. So it's not reasonable to think that they're going to allow themselves to be excluded from this ecclesiastical body. They have to invade it to exist. Where's the resolution of promulgation? This is a resolution of promulgation of a law, whereas we are the people. Islam means peace. Okay. There's nothing about this that makes me question the intention of the creators of this. We can learn a lot from them. Now, here is the Moorish Science Temple of America Council on Commerce. The following venture has been sanctioned by the Moorish Temple. Okay. Now, another thing to me, where we see it is the case, where we're not helping each other, where we justify, how can I say? We justify trying to, make people fit into a certain mold or what have you. Is that in line with the intent of this? Right? So the original trust being that of the Most High Creator, it wasn't about possessing this or that or the other. In fact, the original indigenous people here, they didn't know what it was to sell land. They knew what it was to be responsible for land. And so, in such, we are responsible for the people, right? And so it's kind of the way I conceptualize what's going on now with the United States Corporation, right? Being in need of help, while they are always trying to charge our estates because they need some help. And I want to help, right? But the thing about it is, let's make sure our concepts are correct. We have the right, we also have the responsibility, all right? And from some who may even call themselves under this title of Grand Sheik. And I say it like that because I know that there are several Moors who have questioned that. People who are in the Moorish Science Temple of America have questioned the use of the term Grand Sheik. And I understand why, because it's not in line with this trust. And the thing about it is, maybe they can't. Maybe they can't. You don't really judge people and you don't know the situation. Or maybe they can and they fully think they're right. But I mean, I'm going on the record to say that with whatever leadership one comes into union with, you want it to be in truth. and saying everybody needs to take the vow. Donald Trump can take the vow. Everybody should be taking the vow. This is Aquarius. It's not like anybody's hiding anymore. It's not like people don't know what's going on. It's not like, people aren't going to find out what's going on. So I'm just trying to say this is not the age to be killing people, because that's why things are they are. You can't blame the people anymore. You keep offing the good people who want to stand up for what is right. Okay. Did I get to the end of that? One more time. Let me look at it. Look at it together. Oh, it's not letting me present. Okay. Now, oh, that's another thing.